Hello, listeners, and welcome to episode 27 of the DNA Film Wars podcast. Today is our discussion episode of Bumblebee and Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. So, Dylan, we'll just get right into it. What are your expectations for these two upcoming movies?
So far, Bumblebee, it's been getting pretty good reviews, so I'm really looking forward to seeing it. I'm interested to see how they either, change this story up to get away from the Michael Bay series, or if they're gonna somehow tie it in some way. But I'm really looking forward to it. It looks like it'll be a really good time. But Into the Spider-Verse, originally when I first saw the first trailer, I was like, I don't know about this. It looked kind of cheesy. I'm like, why are they making this? The closer it's getting, and the more I'm hearing about it, I'm hearing that it's really good, and I'm interested to see it too. The animation looks really interesting, so we'll see how that goes too. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I'll say about the same thing. Bumblebee, I've been excited for since it was announced, and especially since the first trailer came out. The last trailer I watched kind of made me kind of sketchy on it.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think it could still be a fun time. The reviews, like you said, the reviews have been really good. As far as Spider-Man goes, I was kind of sketchy on it at first. It's been getting great reviews. Some say Oscar worthy. Some say best Spider-Man movie of all time. We'll see about that. I ain't gonna start getting my expectations that high, but I think both have potential to be good movies. Both have potential to be kind of bad, but
I guess we'll see, right?
I guess we'll find out.
With all that being said, we got a really fun time this week. We're gonna be ranking all the Transformers movies, or I guess the live action Transformers movies.
Dylan has not
I have committed
seen,
an atrocity and have not seen the original animated TV series nor the original animated movie.
and I was not able to find the animated movie. You can't rent it on YouTube or anything. You have to buy the physical copy from somewhere. So we don't got time for that. So we're just gonna skip over that. Although I've seen it myself.
We will also rank all the live action Spider-Man movies since the 2002 Sam Raimi one.
Yep.
Let's get into it, man. You want to start it off with Transformers rankings?
Oh yeah, so coming in at number 5, obviously, is the fifth one, The Last Night. I don't like this movie. I don't even know if you can call it a movie. It's just so choppily edited together. The acting is terrible. The script is terrible. Everything about this movie is terrible. What is bad is that when I saw the trailer for The Last Night, I actually was kind of hopeful. They kind of set up this in the trailer. They set up this fight between Optimus and Bumblebee, and Optimus, they kind of made it out like Optimus was gonna kill Bumblebee. And even though the last 4 movies weren't great by any stretch of the imagination, they had done a decent job of establishing Bumblebee and Optimus as characters in the franchise. And I thought they could have really played that up and made that interesting, them battling. Watching the movie, that's 10 seconds of the movie.
He's a grand total of maybe 5 minutes. He's a bad guy.
If that, yeah.
Nemesis Prime.
Grand total of the 5 minutes he's a bad guy. Of the 8 minutes he's in the movie. And the fight lasts all of about 30 seconds. And the movie is just garbage. Anthony Hopkins can't save this movie. Mark Wahlberg couldn't save this movie. I honestly wonder what Michael Bay was doing. I can't imagine that he truly thought he was making a good movie when he was making this. I think he just was tired of it, and they were just paying him to put it out until he was like, okay, whatever, and he just threw it together. But this movie is god-awful trash. It is a terrible blemish on the Transformers name.
Blemish on what Transformers name? Since 2007, there is no Transformers name.
Whatever. What do you got, number 5?
Number 5, as much as I agree with you on all your points about The Last Night, I still enjoy how ridiculous that movie is over my number 5, and that's going to be Age of Extinction.
Oh, God.
I cannot handle this movie. When they rebooted this franchise with Mark Wahlberg as our lead, I was like, maybe. I was like, okay, we're steering away from Shia LaBeouf. I'm okay with that. Maybe we'll change some things up. And we didn't. We just got worse. And this movie is poorly edited, poorly written, poorly directed, poorly filmed. Everything about this movie is bad. CGI, for a Transformers movie, it's a Transformers movie. But, as far as we're concerned, this movie is absolutely terrible in my opinion. I do not care for it. It's slightly entertaining at times, but that's all I can give it. So it's number 5.
You're so wrong about that.
Okay.
Whatever.
That's why we are DNA Film Wars.
But at number 4, I have Age of Extinction.
That's fair.
The reason I mean, for one thing, I think this movie, Age of Extinction, is not a good movie. Don't get me
No.
wrong. But I think that it at least resembles a film, the way it's edited and stuff. And I mean, there are interesting concepts in it, like the idea of a bounty hunter transformer hunting down Optimus. It's kind of a neat idea. They don't do anything with it in the movie, but I think it's kind of a neat idea. And the main reason this movie is ranked above The Last Night is because towards the end of the movie, we see Optimus with a sword riding a giant metal fire-breathing Tyrannosaurus Rex. What more could you want out of a movie than that, Dylan? What? But
Everything.
in all seriousness, I mean, but I do have fun with this movie. I do the Dinobots, yes, they changed them up a lot. I think the Dinobots are kind of cool at the end of it. I think that there are some cool-ish action scenes, I think, in this movie. I know people complain about the Transformers franchise for being incomprehensible, and in large part they are. But, Michael Bay does know how to set up an action sequence, I think, and I think he does decent. And Marky Mark, I don't hate him in this movie like I hate him in The Last Night. I think he's got a couple of decent moments, but, I mean, it's a bad movie. So, yeah, I got it coming in at number 4. What do you got coming in at number 4?
Coming in number 4 for me is going to be The Last Night. This movie, as we have both stated, is garbage.
Why do you like it better than...
I just find it more entertaining. I don't know why.
What about it?
Because Optimus Prime is a bad guy for about 5 seconds.
That's not entertaining. That's stupid.
There's a big fight on the ocean. In the middle of the ocean, kind of.
There's a big fight everywhere in this franchise.
I mean, I just like it a little bit more. I don't know why. I couldn't tell you why. I honestly don't know why, but I just like it a little bit more than Age of Extinction. They're both terrible movies.
I mean, they're both bad, but...
They're both terrible.
I think
it doesn't really matter, honestly, in my opinion.
I think The Last Night is significantly worse than Age
of
Extinction,
that's
in
fair.
my opinion.
I think they're about neck and neck. They're both pretty bad.
Okay, whatever.
And I guess that explains it. Number 4.
At number 3, I have Revenge of the Fallen.
Yeah.
The second one. One of the highest grossing movies of all time.
I think this is where our lists are going to start to get dead on exactly the same.
Exactly the same. But yeah, I got Revenge of the Fallen at number 3. It's not a good movie, but I find some stuff entertaining. The whole, robot woman trying to seduce Shia LaBeouf is stupid, but it's kind of funny. There's some other funny lines with the guy that worked for Sector 7 but now doesn't work for Sector 7. I forget the actor's name, but he's kind of funny sometimes.
He's a guy.
And I mean...
Oh, one of my favorite parts of that movie. The Decepticon climbing the pyramid and the 2 wrecking balls swinging underneath him.
Yeah.
Jesus Lord Almighty.
And I mean, the Fallen's kind
dumb.
of a neat bad guy. The forest fight where Optimus is fighting Megatron and Starscream and the helicopter guy all at once is kind of cool. And then, Optimus dies and then gets revived later.
Nice.
And, they try to bring in some stuff from the cartoon with the Matrix of Leadership. They don't really do a good job of it. And then one thing, I mean, with the second one, they do this in every film. They rewrite the reason that Transformers are on planet Earth. But, I mean, the movie's stupid. There's all kinds of writing problems with this movie. Michael Bay tried to blame it on the writer's strike they had at this, during this period. Well, we learned with the later films that wasn't the problem. But, I still find it mildly entertaining. I still think Megatron's kind of cool in this movie. Starscream's kind of cool. I mean, Optimus obviously is really cool. Bumblebee still really cool. So, I mean, I like this movie.
Yeah.
I find it mildly entertaining. What do you get at number 3?
I also have Revenge of the Fallen at number 3. This is the worst one of our original, what I would consider original
Our
trilogy.
Shia
LaBeouf trilogy. It's definitely the worst one of those, but I would say it's, I don't know if you'd consider it leaps and bounds above Age of Extinction and Last Night, but it is definitely a better movie.
More entertaining.
It's more entertaining. It's better put together, which is not saying much.
I'm not saying much there.
I mean, this movie definitely, like you said, has enjoyable moments. I mean, there's some really, really neat things that happen in this, and I enjoyed the really dumb aspects of this movie. I mean, like you said, the female Decepticon that takes the form of a human girl and tries to seduce Shia LaBeouf's character, and then, like I already said, the scene with the Decepticon climbing the pyramid of Giza or whatever. And there's some other stuff that's pretty funny in here. There's two Autobots that are constantly jabbing back and forth with each other that are just ridiculous.
People
they're
offense
kind of
to those.
annoying, but
Some people took offense to those because they thought they were racial stereotypes.
I mean,
they kind of are.
This movie has enjoyable moments. It's just not very good at the same time. It's poorly written, and this is where I think, even though it's the second film, it's where it starts to get really hard to see what's going on in like action scenes.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that started with the first one.
The first one's not quite as bad.
This one's really bad about it.
Because
there's so many robots.
There's just
fighting.
so much going on in this movie, so it comes in at number 3.
Number 2, I have Dark of the Moon.
Yep.
You know what? I actually think this is a decent movie. I think the character of Leonard Nimoy's robot's name?
He's a prime of some sort.
He's a prime. He's a
Sentinel
Prime. Good job.
Thank you, Andrew.
Sentinel Prime. He's actually kind of a interesting character. I mean, you can see the twist coming from a mile away that he's evil, but
I like the concept behind it. It's neat.
I do like the concept behind it. I like this movie actually has, in my opinion, the best executed scene in the entire franchise when Soundwave's little monster thing is eating up the skyscraper and the skyscraper is falling over and the soldiers are all falling inside of it while the Autobots are all fighting all around it. I think that's probably the best executed scene in the entire franchise. There's a lot of action in this movie. One of the scenes that I love is when after we think that the Autobots have been blown up in the spaceship when Starscream blew it up, but we go to our final battle and like Optimus like walks up and shoots a Decepticon and like it's like let's kill them all or we'll kill them all or something. I think that's actually kind of cool. And of course Bumblebee still kicking a lot of butt in this movie. I always love Bumblebee. There's some other new characters in this movie that I kind of like. Is this the one where they introduce... honestly, I don't remember when they introduced all the... Is this the one where they introduced John Goodman's character, or is that not till Age of Extinction?
I think that's an Age of Extinction.
Okay, well, never mind.
Been a while since I've seen Dark of the Moon.
Age of Extinction... I mean, John Goodman's robot, he's kind of neat, but that might not be till Age of Extinction.
It might be this one. No, I think it is this one.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
I can't remember. I can't remember. I think it is this one. But anyway, off topic. They're in the fight at the beginning of the movie where they go to Chernobyl or whatever, and we see Optimus with his little trailer for the first time. I think in like these films, and it like turns into this little weapons depot or something. I mean, there's some neat concepts in this movie. Again, I mean, there's a lot of bad things too. I mean, it's a lot of incomprehensible CGI action. Yep. I actually think Patrick Dempsey is pretty decent in this movie as one of the bad guys.
Semi-antagonist.
I still think Megatron with like half his face ripped off looks kind of cool in this movie. I love at the end of the movie the fight between him and Sentinel and Optimus where he helps Optimus kill Sentinel and then Optimus turns around and kills Megatron. That was all pretty cool. One thing I forgot to mention about Age of Extinction, which I really wanted to mention, so I'll go back and do it now, is they bring back Megatron in that film, the fourth film, as Galvatron, which is something that they did in the cartoon movie that you haven't seen. And I like the idea of him being like these little nanobots that can like turn into like this swarm and then reform. Unfortunately, they don't ever do anything with that. And then by the fifth film, he's just Megatron again. But that's getting back to
and they try to say that Earth is Unicron and the last night too.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. But anyway.
Okay. A little off topic there.
And do you know that Leonard Nimoy voiced Galvatron in the cartoon movie?
Yeah, I think I heard that.
And then for him to come back for the third one, that was pretty neat. May he rest in peace. But the Dark of the Moon, I can sit down. I can honestly enjoy that movie, so I got it coming in at number 2.
Yeah, I also have it coming in at number 2. Like you said, this is way better than the second movie. I mean, maybe not way better, but it's a little bit better than the second movie. It's a little bit more entertaining, and the story is a little bit more compelling to follow. It's got some of the better action scenes, even though most of it is, like you said, incomprehensible. You just don't know what's going on because it's a bunch of CGI robots fighting. But I mean, it has some fun scenes. I really enjoy the Megatron and Optimus and Sentinel fight happening in the freaking middle of downtown Chicago. Which, we always have to destroy a big city, of course.
Yeah,
it's
a Michael Bay movie.
And it's a Michael Bay movie. Why not? But it's a really good time. I can sit down and actually enjoy this movie. It has okay acting as far as the Transformers movies go. It's Shia LaBeouf's last time playing his character
They
Sam.
they dropped Megan Fox.
Yeah,
for
we
this
dropped
film.
Megan Fox in this movie.
I actually
And
like the girl they got playing. I think she's a slightly better actress than Megan Fox.
she was in Mad Max Fury Road.
Yeah, one of the daughters,
One of the wives or daughters or whatever.
or whatever.
She's probably better than Megan Fox. Slightly, which isn't saying much. Because Megan Fox is, not a great actor, but
Actress.
doesn't matter.
Yes.
Megan Fox is not a great actress, but I mean, this is an enjoyable movie. I can sit down and watch it and be like, that was pretty entertaining. So I'll have it at number 2.
Yeah, so for number 1, obviously the only one left is the first 2007 Transformers movie. I actually don't think this is a bad movie. I think it's a decent movie. I actually kind of like how Michael Bay redesigned these Transformers for this movie. How he kind of tried to make it a little more realistic. I don't think he really succeeds. Shia LaBeouf, he actually does I think, a decent job in this movie.
It's definitely no Revenge of the Fallen scene where he just like freaking starts like spazzing.
Yeah. Megan Fox is not good, but she's not just so bad she takes away. I think the Sector 7 guy is kind of entertaining. I can't remember his name.
We'll have to look up his name.
The parents are kind of funny at times.
Sometimes they're a little bit obnoxious.
Sometimes they're a little overboard. But I mean, I like how they do Bumblebee in this movie. I like Optimus in this movie. I like Ironhide in this movie. I like all the Autobots in this movie. I like the Decepticons. I love Megatron and how like intimidating and scary he is. And
I got that name for you. It's John Turturro.
John Turturro. Yeah, he's pretty good. But I think it's a decent, well-made movie. Speaking of terrifying, I'm gonna go back and backtrack because I forgot to say this about the last one, Dark of the Moon. I think there's actually one of the most pretty nightmare-inducing scene where like they walk in and the little buzzard Decepticon has turned into a pink little miniature form of Bumblebee with red eyes. I mean, that's pretty scary. But back to this movie. I think it's a pretty well done movie. I think the final fight, yes, does get a little incomprehensible. And it kind of bugs me that Megatron just absolutely whoops Optimus's butt until the human comes and saves Optimus. And then but what bugs me about that is, and then like in later movies, it's Optimus like fighting Megatron and like 3 other Decepticons at the same time and kicking their butt. So I mean, a little inconsistency there. But I don't guess these movies are really known for consistency. But I do enjoy this movie. So I will be disappointed. I still think Bumblebee should be the best Transformers movie yet, and it will be disappointed if it's not. But if it's on par with this movie, I will enjoy it.
Yeah, I agree with you. It comes in at my number 1 too. There's a lot to enjoy about this first Transformers movie. It's more comprehensible than any other Transformers movie. It's probably better than the other 4 Transformers movies combined.
Yeah, that's maybe stretching it, but yeah.
I don't know. The other ones they get pretty bad. This one is actually a decent movie and it's slightly entertaining. It's decently made. Action scenes are well helmed. I enjoy them.
Has John Voight.
It does have John Voight. It has Josh Duhamel in it too, who does a pretty good job as our lead military man who always has to be in the Transformers movie. It's going to be played by John Cena in this one, I'm guessing, in Bumblebee. Tyrese Gibson's good in this movie. John Voight's good in this movie. Peter Cullen coming back to reprise his voice role as Optimus Prime is excellent. Love hearing his voice on screen, even though I've never seen the original animated show. I love hearing his voice. I don't know why. He sounds nothing like that in real life. It's really funny to hear him speak in real life. But this movie is really good. I enjoy pretty much everything about it. Shia LaBeouf is decent in this movie. Megan Fox isn't terrible. One of my favorite scenes in this movie is actually something that became a stereotype of all the other Transformers, and it's the closing dialogue. And this is actually a decent closing like monologue from Optimus. And I think it's a good way to start off this franchise that steadily or not steadily, definitely went downhill from that point. So I really enjoyed it. It comes in at number 1 for me as well.
All right. Well, I think that concludes our Transformers ranking.
Yeah.
Just FYI, if I had to rank the animated film, I think I would put it probably between The Last Night and Age of Extinction. It's not really a good movie. It is a good opening sequence where I'll spoil it a little bit for Dylan. It has a good opening sequence where like Megatron comes in and like brutally murders most of the original cartoon characters. And then him and Optimus have a pretty cool fight where, spoiler alert, Megatron kills Optimus. And Megatron is thrown out into space, left for dead. But after that, the movie goes downhill pretty quick because isn't this new character Rodimus Prime takes over, and it's just not that good. But anyway, moving on. We want to go ahead and jump into Spider-Man films.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, do you want me to start?
Sure, if you want, go for it.
All right, how many Spider-Man movies are there?
Let's see, we have 1, 2, 3, Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2, and a Homecoming. Do you want me to start since you started the last one?
6. So there's 6. Okay, yeah. Go for it. What's number 6?
All right, coming in number 6 for me is it's going to be The Amazing Spider-Man 2. I think pretty much everyone in the world can agree with this. This movie suffers from a lot of the same things that Spider-Man 3 suffered from, and it's an overload of characters and villains.
Yes.
And too much studio interference. The first Amazing Spider-Man movie is actually not terrible. It's pretty enjoyable. This one really took a fall off. I think what they were really trying to do with this one, Sony was trying to build their Spider-Man universe, and they tried to do it the wrong way with this movie, and this movie took a real big hit because they were really trying to set up, their Sinister Six movie. So we had Electro showed up, played by Jamie Foxx, who is a very talented actor, and his potential was not realized in this movie at all as Electro. He is absolutely terrible in this movie, which is the worst I think I've ever seen Jamie Foxx in a movie. Dane DeHaan as our new Goblin, Green Goblin thing is absolutely awful. That shows up at the end. We kill off one of our favorite characters of Gwen Stacy, who is actually pretty decently acted by Emma Stone. Andrew Garfield is okay as Spider-Man. I think he's a decent Spider-Man. He's not my favorite Spider-Man. I think I'd have to give my favorite actress Spider-Man to Tobey Maguire because that's who I grew up with. But
better than Tom Holland?
I grew up with Tobey Maguire.
So did I, but
I think he's a better Spider-Man.
I still think Tom Holland.
I think
better Peter Parker.
he's still my favorite Spider-Man. You're right. Tom Holland is a better Peter Parker. But getting back into this movie, we got way too many characters. Paul Giamatti at the beginning shows up as Rhino and then briefly shows up back at the end for a slow-mo shot for a sequel setup that never happened because Andrew Garfield got fired by Sony because he failed to show up for a press event in Japan because he was sick. But, overall, this movie's pretty bad. It's poorly written. It's made okay, I guess, but it's not very good, and that's why it comes in at number 6. So
yeah, obviously I'm going to agree. Amazing Spider-Man 2, overloaded with characters. It doesn't even know who it wants its main villain to be. We're led to believe it's Electro for most of the film, but then kind of at the end, it kind of switches to the new Green Goblin. And then, tonally, the movie is all over the place because you got it really goofy.
It's trying to be super comedic but dark and serious at the same time.
Yeah, every time Electro shows up, it gets goofy. But then they have that really dark scene at the end where Gwen Stacy is falling and Spider-Man tries to catch her, but
it snaps her neck.
Her head smacks the concrete or whatever, and it kills her. And then, of course, we still have the underlying plot with the parents that obviously ends up not really going anywhere because we don't have a third film. And it's really unfulfilling. We have this plot with Aunt May that she's just, going back to school to be a nurse or something. And it's stupid. And the movie's just poorly made. Andrew Garfield gets on my nerves. He's not a bad Spider-Man, but he kind of gets on my nerves a little bit with the kind of punk kid act he's doing. It's not as bad in this one, I think, as it is in the first one. But I don't love Andrew Garfield. He's my least favorite Spider-Man so far.
Yeah, he is.
And then, like you said, the villains. Obviously, there's. This is what plagues a lot of superhero movies nowadays: is setting up sequels. Being more worried about setting up sequels than actually telling your own story. This one is obviously big on setting up the.
And I have a feeling that it's more Sony studio interference than the director's fault.
Yeah, I'm not gonna blame Mark Webb for all that. Mark Webb made a decent first movie. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but I think that this was definitely a studio film more than a director vision. And you can tell, and it's just not good.
Yeah. All right. Well, coming at number 5 for me is gonna be Sam Raimi's third film, Spider-Man 3. This one suffers from a lot of the same things that plagued Amazing Spider-Man 2, and its studio interference and an overload of villains that we didn't want or need. I think this film had a lot of potential had we gone with Sam Raimi's original vision, which would have been Sandman as our main protagonist, and a slight second protagonist of Harry Osborn becoming the new Goblin in that the battle and strenuous relationship that's been happening since the end of the first film after his father died between him and Peter. But this movie has a lot of problems. It's poorly written, which I feel like is more studio interference than the writer and director's vision of Sam Raimi. Sam Raimi wanted to make a completely different movie, and the studio told him no, basically. And that's what really hurts this film. We didn't need to see Venom in this movie. Sam Raimi didn't want to do Venom. Studio told him he had to put it in, so he was like, okay, I guess. We were originally supposed to get a fourth film that would have had Venom in it at some point, and I think this movie would have been better had we made that fourth film, but judging based on what this film is, it has some of the worst scenes in the entire franchise, some of the worst CGI in the entire franchise. I mean, it has the awful, awful dance scene after Peter Parker has taken on the symbiote, and he's like embraced it or whatever, and he starts walking on the street, and he has this terrible dance scene. It is probably the worst scene in the entire franchise, and it's so cringeworthy. Other than that, I mean, we kind of get away from Spider-Man's, main morals of his existence, and other than that, I mean, it's poorly written. It's not very well made as far as Sam Raimi. I feel like Sam Raimi probably didn't have as much say in this movie as he wanted to, like I've already said, but that's why it comes in at number 5.
All right, at number 5, I'm gonna go with a different choice just to make our list different, but also because I do believe what I'm about to say too. I'm gonna go with the first Amazing Spider-Man. I don't hate this movie, but my big problem with it is that it is such a retread of that first Sam Raimi film. I mean, almost plot for plot point. We have the scene where he gets stuck to the pole on the bus, which is just like him when he got stuck to the banner on the bus in the first movie. Of course, him getting bit, and we're retelling this origin story like what 10 years, if that, after they told the first origin story.
Exactly 10 years, yeah.
Yeah, and I don't feel like we need that origin story again, and I just really don't like how they just retreaded that first film so much. And then the villain, I don't really care for the Lizard as a villain, and like his plot to turn everyone into lizard people doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. And I don't know, it's just I don't really care for what's the actor's name? Tim Roth, or is that a character he played in something?
Tim Roth is in The Incredible Hulk.
Yeah, that's the character he played. I don't know what the actor's name is, but anyway, I don't know. I don't find him that intriguing. That plays the lizard.
Oh, his name's Peter something. Oh no, his name's Reese Ifans.
Okay, whatever. That guy.
That guy.
He's not that great in the movie, I don't feel like. And then, like I said, Andrew Garfield, I don't hate him as Spider-Man, but the whole skateboarder punk thing he's doing, I don't feel like is really true to Peter Parker's nature. Peter Parker is more of a nerd. I mean, I guess they were just trying to update him, but Peter Parker is just more of a straight-up nerd that's really smart. And I don't know, that just bugs me. And then his whole relationship with Gwen Stacy, I don't know if I buy their chemistry there, really. But, it's alright. I mean, some of the fights are kind of cool. His suit is kind of cool, I guess.
It's new.
Yeah, it's new. And then, I don't know. I mean, but like I said, I don't hate it. I do kind of enjoy watching it, but it comes into my number 5.
All right. Well, coming at number 4 for me is going to be The Amazing Spider-Man, Mark Webb's first film. Pretty much everything you said is true. I mean, but for the most part, this is an enjoyable film. Andrew Garfield as Peter Parker / Spider-Man is all right. He's my least favorite Spider-Man and Peter Parker though, but he does a good job. Everyone does a good job with what they're given. I agree with you. I don't care for the Lizard as an antagonist. There was a theory going around that maybe the Lizard would have been the main antagonist of Sam Raimi's fourth film had it been made. And when Sony stepped in and decided to reboot their franchise and they made the Lizard their antagonist, I don't think it really worked for him. His motivations are kind of lacking, like you said. He has no real reason for why he wants to turn everyone into giant lizards, other than, I don't even know, other than nothing. But, there's some decent scenes in this movie. I enjoy some of the scenes with Peter. I enjoy the scene where he's kind of, like messing with Flash in the gym with the basketball. That whole scene's all right.
Okay. But
I kind of enjoy it. It's ridiculous, but I kind of enjoy it. It's a decent scene. I think you're correct on the whole chemistry thing between Emma Watson and Andrew Garfield, at least in that first movie.
Emma Watson?
Or Emma Stone. There's too many Emmas in this world. But I think their chemistry is kind of forced and rushed in this film just so he can have some sort of love interest to care about and have some sort of extra character motivation. But as far as origin story goes, if we're going to reboot this franchise, the origin story is not as well told as the Sam Raimi trilogy. It's not as well made. and that's why it comes in at number 4.
Yeah, coming in at number 4 for me, I had Spider-Man 3. Like, I mean, you've already talked about all of it. Overcrowded with characters. And, I mean, the plotting's not that great. And, of course, that horrible dance scene. But the reason I have it above The Amazing Spider-Man, I do kind of appreciate some of the stuff they were going for. The Peter Parker turning, or Spider-Man kind of turning dark is this plot line that I think in a better movie, a less crowded movie, could have been really well done and really good. I don't mind the Sandman as a bad guy. I think he's actually a decent bad guy in his story.
I think Thomas Hayden Church is pretty good as a Sandman too.
And trying to help his daughter out and everything. Topher Grace is bad as Venom.
Yeah, I don't know who decided to cast him, but they did a terrible job.
One thing I do appreciate, again, I will say this, one thing I do appreciate for Spider-Man 3 over the Venom film is that they do a lot of practical makeup for Venom in that movie. Although it does, I think, in the comics, he's a really big, villain, and I mean in the Venom movie they accomplished that, and they kind of reduce him in size for this film. I do appreciate practical effects whenever they are done. I do kind of feel a little bit of something when
Harry dies at the end.
Yeah, Harry. I was gonna say James Franco. When Harry dies at the end, he comes back to help Peter, even though Peter like burnt half his face with the bomb. To be fair, that was kind of Harry's fault too. But of course, the scene where the butler walks in and he's like, I cleaned your father's wounds. He died by his own blade. I mean, like
his own glider,
the blade from his own glider. And I'm like, you're just telling him that now?
Like you didn't think to tell him that? I don't know, 4 years ago.
Yeah, and even whatever.
I mean, to be fair, when I was a kid, when I originally saw this movie on opening weekend, when it came out,
I loved it
in 2007. I loved this movie.
I loved it. It wasn't until I was
going back and watching it as a little bit older person, I was like,
it's not that good.
This is pretty bad.
But, I mean, I don't hate it.
The whole conflict between him and Mary Jane in the movie is kind of ridiculous, too. And they try to throw in Gwen Stacy in there as well with Bryce Dallas Howard, which was completely unnecessary.
In that movie. But, like you said, overcrowded with characters. This is Sony, doing Sony things. And interfering with movies when they shouldn't. But I don't hate it. I got fond memories of it from being a kid.
Yeah.
So, it's got my number 4 vote.
All right. Coming in at number 3 for me is going to be Sam Raimi's first movie, and that is the first Spider-Man from 2002. This movie does pretty much everything right. I don't have any major complaints or flaws with it. I mean, it's very well written. It's very well executed. I love the first antagonist of the Green Goblin, played by Willem Dafoe. I think he does an excellent job. Tobey Maguire coming out of the gate as Spider-Man and Peter Parker, he does a great job. He'll definitely forever hold a spot in my heart as Spider-Man, and he's going to be my favorite Spider-Man probably till the day I die, unless Tom Holland just completely blows me away in Far From Home. But other than that, I mean, this film is very well made. I got to give Sam Raimi credit for making a great start to a franchise. He did such a great job. This movie's well written, well executed in every aspect, and I thoroughly enjoy it. I just have 2 movies that are just more enjoyable and better made, in my opinion. So that's why it comes in at number 3.
Yeah, I got the same movie at number 3, the original Sam Raimi Spider-Man. Like you said, it's a really well-made movie. It's not perfect. The CGI does not hold up very well.
It does not. I'll give it that. It does not hold up super well.
The whole reason for the Green Goblin outfit is kind of goofy. Like, why do they need this goofy Green Goblin outfit? Willem Dafoe, though, is very convincing as the Green Goblin.
He does a great job.
He's scary just without the suit.
But it's the voice.
It's that voice. But we'll be talking about him in our Aquaman review.
You're correct.
Soon. But I love Willem Dafoe in this movie. Tobey Maguire, he's all right. He's a decent Spider-Man. I like Tobey Maguire in this movie. He's not my favorite. I will talk about Tom Holland in a little bit. Tom Holland is my favorite by a pretty good margin. But I think Tobey Maguire, especially in this first film, does what he needs to do. He pulls off the nerdy thing. He gets a little whiny at times, I think, throughout the trilogy as Peter Parker. But, not too bad here. And, he's all right. The Uncle Ben's, this is the origin story, I think, done right. It's quick pace. They don't, take the whole entire movie to tell it. I think the actor playing Uncle Ben and the actress playing Aunt May are both really good. And I really feel when Uncle Ben dies in this movie. And I really like the conflict that Peter has with the Green Goblin, because, the Green Goblin is his best friend's
dad.
Father. And he actually kind of looks up to Willem Dafoe's character as kind
of a mentor and a father figure.
Yeah, so because he's a scientist. Osborn is a scientist. So I mean, it's all good. And then I do like Willem Dafoe, how he just completely goes off the deep end. And there's some great action sequences. I think the scene at the parade or whatever, even though the CGI parts of it don't hold up well, the like him throwing bombs and like evaporating, disintegrating like his bosses and everything is cool. And
I think the whole finale sequence that takes place in that abandoned house is one of the best scenes in the entire franchise.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Well,
in the Sam Raimi trilogy, I mean, I guess.
I don't really like
starting
the part,
on the bridge, but
yeah, I don't really like the part where like the citizens are in New York are throwing a trash at Green Goblin, and one of the guys is like, "If you mess with one of us, you mess with all of us." I was like, that line's kind of sketchy. But I think they do that exact same attempt in Spider-Man 2 to much better effect on the train, where like people rallying around Spider-Man. I'll talk about that later in Spider-Man 2. But overall, this movie is really good. And I like how Spider-Man doesn't kill Green Goblin. Green Goblin kills himself because Spider-Man's a good person, Actually, I don't think Spider-Man directly kills anybody in this trilogy.
Not directly. I mean, he doesn't like physically kill anyone. I mean, I'm sure some people die
because
due
of
to
some
complications.
Of his actions. But it's kind of like Batman. I won't kill you, but that doesn't mean I have to save you. Although in Batman Begins, where they try to tell you otherwise, Batman straight up kills a bunch of people in that movie.
Batman definitely straight up kills a bunch of people in Batman v Superman, but we will talk about that in our next discussion episode when we rank the DCU movies.
Yeah, so overall, I've been talking about it for a while. I like this movie. What do you got at number 2?
All right, coming in at number 2 for me is going to be the MCU's version of Spider-Man, and that's going to be Spider-Man Homecoming. This movie is really does an excellent job. We get a really fresh and updated version of Spider-Man. We don't have to drag the story down with the backstory and the origin story of Spider-Man. It's already been established, and we don't have to weight our movie down with that. And I really enjoy that about this movie. There's some great characters in this movie. Tom Holland is absolutely excellent as Peter Parker and Spider-Man, and he brings a really nice youthfulness to the movie that I think people can relate to better. I think he is the best and the most well-acted version of Peter Parker and Spider-Man. But for nostalgia reasons, as I've already said, Tobey Maguire has got to be my favorite because that's what I grew up with and I enjoy him so much. But this movie is really excellent. I really love the antagonist of Adrian Toomes, played by freaking Michael Keaton. Jesus, I just forgot his name. I think Michael Keaton does an excellent job in this movie. I guess he has a really deep love for playing creatures that fly.
Oh yeah.
Batman, Birdman, the Vulture. It's whatever. But he does a great job in this movie, and I really feel his character motivations. I mean, he's trying to, get revenge for basically Tony Stark and everyone shutting him down after he's trying to clean up after the Battle of New York from the first Avengers. Although that does kind of throw off our timeline a little bit, this movie does, of the MCU. We'll just ignore that.
Yeah.
But I mean, overall, this is really...
Some intern in charge of title cards got fired.
Oops. But it's really well made, really well executed, really well written, and I thoroughly enjoy this movie. Robert Downey Jr. is a good mentor in this movie as Iron Man and Tony Stark. I think he does a good job. I really enjoy this movie, so that's why it comes in at number 2.
Yeah, I'll agree. I like Homecoming as my second favorite. Tom Holland is my favorite Peter Parker by far. I think the big thing is that with Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, I do not believe they are 15.
Well, they're not supposed to be.
Or 16. Or teenagers at all. But with Tom Holland, I believe he is 15 for him. But
he's a young kid.
I mean,
he's like 20.
He's 21 in real life, I think now. I think he was 20 when he played, or
like 19 or 20 when he first started playing Spider-Man.
But I believe he's a young teenager.
He pulls it off really well. And I like you said, Michael Keaton as the Vulture does a really good job. I like him as a villain. He's kind of just a blue-collar guy who just kind of got robbed by Stark, and it ticks him off. It ticked me off, too. So he starts stealing tech from him. And like you said, Robert Downey Jr. does a great job as Iron Man. He's kind of the father figure in this movie. And then, I think the third act is really moving when Spider-Man can't get up, like he's trapped, but he ends up forcing himself to get up. Because that's the thing with Spider-Man is, he's not as strong as everybody else, not as, invincible. He's all heart.
But he's always going to keep going no matter what until he can't go anymore. And that's what I love about Spider-Man. But Spider-Man is, by the way, I don't think I've said this yet, my favorite superhero of all time by far and away.
Another thing I forgot to mention, me talking about Spider-Man Homecoming, I really love how this movie captures like almost that John Hughes 80s teen movie, high school movie vibe to a degree. And it really like focuses on our teen characters. I mean, it shows us high school. I mean, we've had Spider-Man be in high school for like 15 years of movies that we've seen pretty much. And this is the only one that really focuses on him in a high school setting. And I mean, he as a kid, and he's just a normal everyday kid. Some of my other favorite scenes are when Tony Stark is like, okay, you can be Spider-Man, but you can't help out with anything big, and he's just like going around saving people like randomly on the street. He like finds a bike, and he's like, is this anyone's bike?
Yeah, I like it. That's one knock I have against the Sam Raimi first film is they do have some scenes in high school, but they don't ever pull it off convincingly. But they definitely do here. Zendaya, however you say her name. She's in it. She's pretty good as MJ, the new MJ.
Michelle Jones.
Yeah, I think the actress who plays his girlfriend, she's pretty good. That plays Michael Keaton's daughter. Everyone is good in this movie. Even Aunt May, the actress play, I don't know.
Marissa Tomei,
she's good. But
well, Aunt May just gets younger and younger in each set of movies.
That's one thing I didn't talk about Sally Hawkins in The Amazing Spider-Man. She does. I mean, she acts okay. I just don't think her character is that well written in those movies.
Rosemary Harris plays her in the first trilogy.
Yeah, I really love the Aunt May from the original trilogy. I think she's my favorite still. But anyway, this movie's really good. I like pretty much everything about it. I think maybe it relies a little too much on some CGI for Spider-Man and Vulture that I think they could have done more practical. Maybe, I don't really know. I think Spider-Man just on some of the because of the color of the suit, I think Spider-Man looks a little cartoonish at times when they're CGI-ing him and stuff. And pacing, I think, towards the middle of the movie gets to be a bit of a problem, but it's a good movie. I really like it.
I like the final conflict of the movie where he fights Vulture.
Yeah.
I really like the aspect where, they've crashed this plane on a beach in New York, and he, decides to save him. That's really hard.
Although how Michael Keaton doesn't die when that backpack blows up,
it's whatever.
It's whatever.
Don't
I guess he has that suit of armor on or whatever.
He's Michael freaking Keaton, okay?
He never dies. All right. Anyway, what's your number one?
Well, coming at number one, obviously, is the only one I haven't talked about, and that is Sam Raimi's second film, Spider-Man 2. This film does, in my opinion, everything right for a superhero movie. Has a great villain, a great protagonist with really, really moving moments in this film. Well made. CGI still doesn't hold up. I mean, this movie did come out in 2004.
I think it holds up better in this one.
It holds up better than this one than it did in the first one. You're right. But I think this movie takes everything the first film did well and just improves on that tenfold. There are some really great scenes in this movie. I will forever love the train sequence in this movie. It is one of the most heartfelt and nerve-wracking scenes I think I've ever watched in a superhero film, and I still love watching that scene to this day. I think Alfred Molina as our antagonist, who's just, he's the scientist and he has this dream of creating, self-sustaining energy that can power a city or power the world, but it just goes wrong, and his mechanical arms basically take him over because they're an AI and they control him, and he becomes our villain. I think that's a really neat concept. I really like how we build upon how I guess we technically start the strenuous relationship and conflict between Harry and Peter in this film after he finds out that he's Spider-Man. I mean, Harry obviously has a huge problem with Spider-Man because he thinks he killed his father, and that continues to show throughout this film. I really enjoy every aspect about this film. I mean, it's great. The final moments of this film is Doc Ock sacrifices himself after he takes control back of his arms and basically becomes human again and humanizes himself, and he sacrifices himself to save the city and save Peter and MJ. I think it's a really great moment, and this is a really great film, and I think that it's a really hard one to beat. I think one of the only superhero films I think that has been done better than this movie is The Dark Knight. So it comes in at my number one.
Yeah, at number one, I got the same thing, Spider-Man 2. I love this movie. It is one of my favorite superhero movies of all time. There are people who argue there has not been a great Spider-Man movie, but I disagree. I think this is a great Spider-Man movie. You were talking about the train scene. I love the train scene. I was saying that they tried to do the same thing with the bridge scene in the first movie. I think they do it way better here. I really feel it when the passengers keep him from falling off the front of the train and then carry him through the train and then put his mask back on and everything. I like Doc Ock in this movie. I think he's a pretty good villain. You know, he's not really evil. He's just kind of crazy, and he sacrifices himself at the end to save everyone. I love the scene in the hospital. Like, you can really see Sam Raimi's horror roots come out in that scene in the hospital where the arms like go crazy and then they get the chainsaw and like get the guy. I mean, and the girl with her fingernails going across the floor.
Oof, I can hear that like in my head.
Oh man, it's hard to watch. But
and she's just screaming.
But yeah, I mean, I love that scene. There's just I really like this movie. You were talking about the CGI. Obviously, it's not perfect, but I think it holds up pretty well for a movie made in 2004. I think
some of the CGI in the train sequence is like the only part that doesn't hold up for me.
And then, you know, the whole story with Spider-Man losing his powers because he loses. I mean,
I forgot to mention that. That's a great aspect of this movie.
Although it doesn't really make sense, like, why does he lose his powers? But I don't question it. I mean, it's a good story. I like it. And then he gains his faith back and he turns back into Spider-Man and starts beating up old Doc Ock. I mean, I like it all. And then, of course, you talked about the conflict between Harry and Peter. Just pretty much everything about this movie I really like. So it's my number one Spider-Man film. We'll see if it's still my number one after this new one.
We'll see. Where do you think it'll be after we watch this movie?
I mean, I haven't seen it yet, so I don't know I mean, because, you know, it's a cartoon. One thing, I mean, and I like animated movies. Obviously, I'm not one of those people that don't like animated movies.
Yeah.
But I tend to appreciate well-made live-action movies more than I do well-made animated movies.
I can agree with that.
Because I think I don't want to say it's harder. I think there's just a lot more technical stuff that goes into making a well-made live-action film compared to an animated film. But, I mean, the buzz, it could be really good. If I had to guess right now, I would probably say fourth favorite behind the first two Sam Raimi films and Homecoming. If I had to guess. But, whatever. We'll talk about it later.
I think this movie has the potential to be really good because it's got a new character that we've not seen on screen yet, but we'll see how it goes. I agree with you. I think it's more of a task and a great achievement to make a live action film, especially a live action superhero film with characters that people love tremendously. I think that's really hard to do. You're dealing with real people and framing real people in a shot versus computer generating people and putting them on screen. If I had to guess, I'd probably say if it's as good as people are saying, 3, maybe 3. I don't know.
Maybe 2.
Maybe 2. I don't know. I guess we'll see. I guess we'll see after we watch it.
But yeah, what do you think about Bumblebee? Do you think it'll be the best one yet? I mean, reviews.
Reviews that I'm hearing
Rotten
for
Tomato score is by far and away the best.
The best. I mean,
it's the only one fresh.
When it first came out, it was like what 98%.
It's still at like 94%.
Really, that's crazy for a Transformers movie.
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to it. I mean, I love Haley Steinfeld. I think she's really good in everything that I've seen her in. I like the Transformers movies to a degree, especially at least the first one.
Yeah. We'll have to show you the cartoon. It's really good.
It's got potential. I'm looking forward to it. I hope it's really good.
Yeah, me too. I like Haley Steinfeld too. I saw her, and I think the big thing I saw her in was in True Grit, and I think she's really good in that. But anyway, moving on.
We got some movie news to talk about.
So since we last met and talked,
some movie news.
There's been 2 big trailers come out.
Mm-hmm.
We'll talk about the first one.
Oof.
Hellboy.
Oof.
It looks questionable.
Oof.
First of all, the first thing I noticed, they're doing a reboot. First of all, they're doing a reboot. It's one of those kind of Spider-Man effects where it's not been that long since Guillermo del Toro did a version of this, and we're rebooting it already.
Mm-hmm.
But they didn't really. The new Hellboy, I forget the actor who's playing him.
I think his name's David Harbour. If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, whatever. He looks a lot like.
He looks really close to Ron Perlman.
Ron Perlman's version of the character. So they didn't really try too hard to make him look different. Some of the CGI looks kind of questionable. It's an early trailer. They could still be touching it up. You know, I like darker movies. And Guillermo del Toro's movies had quite a bit of comedy. But this movie looks like it might be one of those, loaded with comedies. And I don't know. Mila Jovovich does not look that convincing as the bad guy. She looked kind of goofy in the trailer. I don't know. But, it could be all right. It may be funny and it may be entertaining. I don't know. What... I forget. I don't know this actor's name either. The guy playing the Hellboy's quote unquote dad. He's in John Wick. He's in the John Wick movies. He was in an episode of Game of Thrones. He's a good actor.
Ian McShane is his name.
Ian McShane. He's a good actor, so maybe. But what do you think? What are you thinking?
I liked Guillermo del Toro's first Hellboy movie. I
like both of them.
I still haven't seen the second one, actually. I've only
sorry.
seen the first one. I've not seen the Golden Army.
I think they're about on par with each other.
This movie, judging by the first trailer, I mean, when I heard that they were rebooting the Hellboy franchise, I was like, maybe that could work. After seeing this first trailer, I'm starting to have a lot of doubts whether or not this is going to be a good movie. David Harbour looks like he could be all right as Hellboy. I mean, I guess we'll see in the long run. But I mean, as far as everything goes, I mean, I'm not super looking forward to this movie anymore. I mean, I don't feel like it's going to end up being that good, especially if you compare it to Guillermo del Toro's first Hellboy movie. So, I mean, I guess only time will tell. When it comes out next April, we will see. Following that up,
Men in Black International.
Ooh.
First of all, I did not realize that Liam Neeson was going to be in this film until I watched the trailer.
Nope, I don't know that that's going to help or save this movie, though.
Probably not. I'm making a prediction now. Spoiler alert. I think Liam Neeson probably turns out to be the bad guy.
Liam Neeson's definitely going to be the bad guy. I don't know what you're saying. Probably. He's definitely going to be the bad guy.
You know, I like the combination, the duo of Tessa Thompson and Chris Hemsworth.
They did really good together in Thor Ragnarok. I think they had good chemistry as Valkyrie and Thor.
Tessa Thompson is a really good actress.
She's talented.
Chris Hemsworth, he's a pretty good actor.
He's Thor.
He's Thor. So, I mean, they can work, but I'm sure they got good chemistry together. I'm sure they can work well together. This movie, I mean, it looks like it's just really going to be loaded with comedy, not much serious going on, which, I mean, the original three, whatever we're on, didn't have much serious stuff going on in them either. The first one was the only real good one. But, I don't know. I mean, maybe between our three main actors, maybe we can pull off something decent because they're all real three actors I really like. I don't know. What do you think?
This movie's probably going to be pretty bad.
Yeah, I just had that chance to.
I mean, Tessa Thompson and Chris Hemsworth, I mean, I already said, I mean, I enjoyed them in Thor Ragnarok. I think they did a great job together. And I love Liam Neeson. I mean, you can't go wrong with Liam Neeson.
He's been busy. He had that Widows. He's got Cold Pursuit
coming
Men in
out.
Black.
He had The Commuter earlier in 2018.
Not too long ago. So, was that in 2018?
Yeah, at the beginning.
Okay.
Like January or February.
He's been a busy
January.
man.
Yeah, he's been busy.
Maybe a Star Wars cameo in episode 9?
No.
Oh.
But I don't know that all three of them can save a franchise that didn't need to continue in the first place. I mean, we had the first Men in Black, which was an enjoyable movie.
It's a pretty good movie.
We had the second Men in Black, which was an okay movie.
He's all right.
We had the third Men in Black, which was not very good.
No.
Josh Brolin's pretty decent in that movie, but I mean...
Is he, though?
That movie's not very good. Why we needed to make this movie, I don't know. But it's a spinoff. I don't know how well a spinoff is going to do in the Men in Black franchise. It could be humorous, I'll give it that, and it'll be slightly entertaining to a degree, I'm sure, just because of those three main actors. But I still have a feeling it's not going to be very good. So yeah. Okay. What else do we got?
Not much. I saw where episode 9 is supposed to be set exactly 1 year after the events of The Last Jedi.
Okay.
Which is interesting because there were some theories that it was going to be a lot later than that, like several years. There were some theories that it might pick up right after. I think 1 year is a good time span. Obviously, you don't have to worry about actors not aging like they should if you said it later than that. Obviously, that gives you an opportunity to say Leia passed away, which I don't like.
I have a feeling that's why they're doing it.
I'm gonna get into how I think the Last Jedi really mishandled that whole situation. But
we'll talk about that later on.
I'm not a Last Jedi hater.
Yes, you are.
Yes, I am.
Yeah,
you really don't like that movie.
I really don't like that movie. But I think JJ can come in and do a little magic.
Give a big F you to Rian Johnson.
We don't like that kind of language on the podcast.
That's exactly what it's going to be.
So, I mean...
Star Wars Episode 9. We hate you, Ryan. No.
1 year. I mean, that doesn't really give them time to rebuild the rebellion, I don't think. Of course, Billy D. Williams is coming back as Lando. So I figure he'll have some kind of rebel force that he's going to bring to the table or something.
I'm sure.
But we'll see.
We'll see. I mean, being set 1 year after this one, I mean, it's got potential. But like you said, I mean, I don't know how they're going to accomplish all the things that they set out to accomplish at the end of that last film, which is not a questionable film.
JJ has a lot of ground to cover. I feel like
he's got a lot of backtracking. I feel like he's going to have to do.
He's got a lot
to satisfy fans.
He's going to have to do a lot of backtracking and then a lot of forward tracking to conclude this trilogy because this is supposed to be the last episode for a long time. So he had a lot of ground
Rian Johnson's
to cover.
episodic films have been canceled.
Well, they weren't episodic.
They were gonna be their own episodic films. It's gonna start like a new series of episodic films or some crap like that. I think is what was supposed to happen.
Were they canceled?
Yeah.
I mean, well, I think
every Star Wars movie has been put on hold from now until the future until they finish this movie and we see how it goes. and Kathleen Kennedy and Lucasfilm decides what they want to do next with the Star Wars.
I think it's the right choice. I think they were going.
They were trying to get so much done at one time, and that's what really hurt them. A lot of problems with directors.
Yeah.
Did not help. Kathleen Kennedy is not helping the situation.
I think she's mismanaged it.
George Lucas, I know that.
We talked bad about you. We talked
about you, and you didn't do a great job with the prequels.
But I'm sorry.
but please step in and take this back from Kathleen Kennedy, please.
Oh, I don't know if I'd go that way. I don't think.
I think he could maybe help put it back on the right track.
I'll talk about this in depth when we start talking about the prequels. But there are things that George Lucas did throughout all 6 films that I think are just really hard to replicate. A certain feel to the films that is just really hard to replicate if you're not that filmmaker that has done all the rest of them. And even though I think, like we said, George Lucas did not handle the prequel trilogy well, there are just things about George and the way he handles the Star Wars franchise that I just think is very hard to replicate.
Yeah.
But all that being said, I really like The Force Awakens. I think
J.J. Abrams did a good job.
If they could all be as good as The Force Awakens, I'd be happy.
I think J.J. Abrams did a good job coming back in, pretty much, I would say, 10 years after a decent Star Wars movie, 25, almost 30 since a really good Star Wars movie.
I would say the last really good one was probably Empire Strikes Back in 1980, so...
35 years,
38...
38?
19, 20,
no,
30,
2015, 35.
Oh yeah, 2015. I was talking about okay, yeah, you're right. 35 years.
35 years since a
great film.
a great Star Wars movie. I think J.J. Abrams did a good job coming back in and trying to recapture that feel in the heart of the movies. I think he did a good job. I mean, he basically just made.
He just remade A New Hope.
He made a really big budget remake of A New Hope, and he did a good job of it.
I liked it.
I enjoyed it thoroughly. I saw it 7 times in theaters.
I saw it. What did I say? 8 times or something.
I saw The Last Jedi 3 times in theaters.
I saw it 3 times in theaters, but I have not watched it since.
I have watched it 2 times since.
I have not watched it since. There's a Star Wars movie that you've seen more than me. I can't believe that. That's shocking.
I don't hate that movie as much as you do. It's not that bad in my opinion. It's not good by any stretch of the imagination, but...
Anyway, you got any other major announcements that we need to talk about? Have they found a host for the Oscars yet? I don't think they have.
I don't think so. I don't know. We'll
probably
keep an eye out for that.
We'll probably finish recording this episode and they'll immediately announce it.
Other than that, I mean, what do we got coming up, man?
Well, the end of the year is coming up. We still have our Bumblebee review, our Aquaman review, our Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse review. Or actually, Spider-Man and Bumblebee, then Aquaman and Mary Poppins.
Yep. As well as discussions for those. Obviously, our discussion episode for Aquaman will include us ranking all the DCEU films. So
yep.
I still don't know what we're going to do for Mary Poppins.
Nope.
We'll figure it out.
I think after that, of course, at the end of the year,
That's our last 2 movies, yeah.
Whenever I get back from my little trip to Florida, we will...
I don't know if he's mentioned this. He's going to Miami to watch OU get smacked by Bama.
Yeah. We'll
Rest in peace, OU Sooners.
Rest in peace, fans who have heart attacks. We will do a wrap-up episode. This will probably be the first week of January sometime. A 2018 wrap-up episode where we will do the top 5 best films we watched.
Top 5 worst.
Most overrated.
Most underrated.
And I think
that's our big end of the year wrap-up. And then at the beginning of the new year, we'll do a top 5 most anticipated.
Yep, top 5 most anticipated, top 5 goals for our podcast.
And then I think we said that we're gonna do least anticipated movies of 2019 too, maybe.
Maybe the least or most worrisome, and maybe one like a sleeper pick. What could be good, but
what could be good,
really
but,
nobody's looking at, and one that could perhaps really suck that people think are gonna be really good. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
We'll
script it out later.
After that, first reviews of the New Year's that you should keep a lookout for. We're gonna do Holmes and Watson. Followed by, I believe, Escape Room.
Yep.
Holmes and Watson obviously comes out Tuesday the 25th, which is Christmas Day. Won't have a chance to see that. I'll be working that day. Aaron will have Christmas stuff to do, and then he'll be out of town. So we're going to schedule that one for the first week of January.
Yep.
After that, it's kind of tentative, but...
Definitely tentative. I'm going to go back through and rework our 2018. We got it planned out, but I'm going to go back there because there's some movies I have on there I don't want to see.
I know something that we are really planning on doing that second week of January. We will be kicking off our Star Wars series.
Yes, we will be reviewing The Phantom Menace.
all the Star Wars movies.
We're
by
gonna
the
do
end of
it
the year.
in episodic. We're gonna do it in chronological timeline order. So we're gonna start with the Phantom Menace and work our way through chronologically to
The Last Jedi.
The Last Jedi.
Followed by Episode 9 in December, whatever it shall be titled.
We also will be watching the Clone Wars movie,
In between 2 and 3.
which is between. So we'll be 1, 2, Clone Wars movie,
3.
3,
Solo.
Solo,
Rogue One. 4, 5, 6.
4, 5, 6,
7.
7,
8.
8,
9. So.
9. So
It'll be a fun year.
It'll be
Just
fun.
I'll enjoy doing those. I'm really looking forward to watching all the Star Wars movies again.
yep.
Only problem with it is that we're only going to be watching one a month, and after we watch one, I'm going to want to watch all the other ones.
You're just gonna have to hold your horses, Dylan. We can watch. There's other movies we want to go back and review too.
Yeah.
Like I think we're gonna do the two Toy Story films leading up to the new one.
Before June, yeah.
All the Terminator films leading up to the new Terminator.
We'll talk about the first 2 John Wick films leading up to John Wick 3.
We're going to try to talk about Avengers Age of Ultron, and then Infinity War leading up to Avengers 4, April 26th.
Yeah.
Which we're going to have to rework our schedule for, because when we made our schedule, that movie was still coming out on May the 3rd.
Yeah, I think I already actually switched that around, but yeah. There's some other stuff.
We got some other stuff.
But we're gonna try to review Bird Box.
We might look into it.
Might really look into it.
It's going to be bad.
There's a new Godzilla movie coming out on Netflix January 9th.
We could maybe talk about that, but
We probably won't talk about that one.
Might save that for another day.
Yeah, for my Godzilla podcast coming soon to a podcatcher near you.
Oh, my Lord.
Not that soon though.
Not that soon. Like maybe next May or June.
Yeah, we still got a lot of things to figure out about this podcast. Our
Get this podcast more up and running.
yeah,
Better.
I think we're gonna get up from recording tonight and go work on our bedroom that we're
Our
gonna
studio.
try to turn into a studio. But anyway, that's all stuff you don't care about. So I think we need to wrap this episode up.
Yeah, it's running a little long today.
So as always, I'm Aaron.
I'm Dylan, and we'll catch you in the next one.